नहीं बताइए, मतलब वो जो वैसे कोई अटेंडेंस पॉलिसी नहीं है, बट प्रेजेंटेशन के वक्त प्रेजेंट होना तो
आज भी क्लास जाती कैसा बच्चा कल तो बहुत शॉर्ट होगी। मैं तो 8 बजे क्लास में होगी, छुट्टी है। मैं तो 8 बजे
चला कि चलो
भाई मुझे नहीं पता था, मैं आ गया यहाँ पे।
हाँ मैं भी आया था।
अच्छा तू भी आया था क्या?
हाँ मैंने इस टाइम नहीं आया था, मेरे 10 बजे भी क्लास थी।
अच्छा
ठीक है तो मैं 10 बजे नीचे अलग से मंदिर पे पहुंचा, पूरी क्लास खाली
अरे वो उसमें था यार, एकेडमिक कैलेंडर में लिखा है कि
हाँ मुझे गार्ड ने बताया।
बट यार मतलब हाँ मतलब यार मेरी भी तो मिलना चाहिए, ऐसे थोड़ी होता है दिन खोल खोल के थोड़ी कुमार
तो वहाँ पे किसी ने बताया नहीं। सबसे बुरा हालत तो मेरा हुआ था, मैं टेस्ट पर गाजियाबाद से
आना
आया,
पड़ेगा।
गाजियाबाद से आया, ये निकले की छुट्टी है।
अमेरिका असाइनमेंट भी आ गई है।
काम कर लेते हैं।
हालांकि
बच्चे को रिलेट नहीं बर्थडे पे नहीं बना सकते कम से कम।
बोल तो वही दरवाजा क्या
इसमें बोला हमारा भी पार्टी चल रहा है।
फुल रहता है
लास्ट मोमेंट में पार्टी TSL 375. Yeah. You all had a good weekend? Good holidays? दुखी है वापस आना पड़ रहा है. Okay, so I promise I'll upload the assignment topics, but I could not. I uploaded it only this morning. देखे किसी ने? नहीं, Moodle पे है. Okay, just check Moodle. So there are 10 topics, and what I'll do today is discuss a little bit on each of the topics, and then you can form groups. My TA would upload a spreadsheet wherein you can put in your group of 5, and we'll set in a date कि इस date तक decide कर लो कि कौन किस group में है, and no interchanging, so that you can work together on topic. and yeah, and then we can let's wait for another 5 minutes or so, and we can decide a few dates today. Okay, let's wait for another 5 minutes or so. हाँ पूछे, मैं तो ऊपर आ गई क्लास में. हाँ बोलो. कर दे 3-4 बजे आके कर दे. कोई नहीं आया है तो बच्चों को देखने वाली भी नहीं आई. मैं अकेले हूँ. मैं क्लास से फिर घर जाऊँगी. सफाई और बर्तन ठीक है. चलो ठीक है. मैंने खाना तो बाहर निकाला है. बाहर बना दो. लॉक करके रखिए. Okay, did you see the topics? देखे किसी ने Moodle पे? So I'm just looking at the schedule for the semester. So for the topics, there are 10 topics, like I said. Very different topics, going from really back, really old times, 770 million years ago, to present day. What I'll do today is I'll just, I've written a short blurb on each of the topics so that you would have an idea of what this topic entails, and that will also help you decide whether or not you want this topic or not. Okay, so I uploaded it this morning, so just have a look, and so I'll just discuss in brief and talk about these topics. As you would notice, some topics have a lot of information on the web. A lot of research has gone into it, while some topics are relatively less explored. So and I am aware of this disparity. So it's not like somebody working on Holocene, for instance, is the current warm period. Everybody is looking into the current warm period. So there's a lot to look into. And so I'll do justice in the sense that if there's a topic like 770 million years ago, it's not a bad topic, but it's just that there's not much known about it. So you're also advantaged in a way that there's not much to say, and whatever is there, right? Okay, so so these are some of the critical events, climate events that have happened in the past. Okay, starting from 770 million years ago, which was the snowball Earth, and in the process, so while you're preparing for this, I'll also teach and go from the beginning of Earth, and the Earth, what was the Earth's climate like when it was really when there was just one continent, Pangaea, and and so on and so forth. After there was continents came to their modern positions, what was the climate like. So, from that far back in time, I'll come to the present day. Okay. So for example, this one topic 770 million years ago, and the Earth was essentially a snowball, and very less radiation coming in, so the cooling effect was really, so is it the radiation that was less, or is it the atmosphere of the Earth that it had so much of aerosols or whatever that it did not let whatever radiation that was coming at that point of time enter, such that the Earth was cooled down. Okay, so you'll have to discuss this in your, so 5 students, you can within that you can divide ke bhai itna tum kar lo itna, so within that also you can divide among yourself, and then also divide the slide. So it has to be a team effort. Okay, make sure that the members that you choose or the team that you choose is in good terms with each other. बाद में झगड़ा ना हो. ठीक है? So 305 million years ago, again, all the rainforest collapsed around that time. So what was it? Was it CO2? Was it the atmospheric composition? What was it that led to such carboniferous rainforest collapse? What was the climate like at that point of time? This is very interesting. 66 million years ago, a lot of you might know dinosaurs extinction event. So what is it? A meteorite impact, volcanic eruption, or what was it that led to this big event, extinction event? That is one of the largest mammalian extinction event that happened. So actually not mammalian, dinosaur extinction event that happened. So so this is, again, you'll have to look into what happened then and what are the theories. Again, Wikipedia is a good starting point, but don't just sit on Wikipedia and don't bring Wikipedia images. It just really offends me. All I see is Wikipedia. Ek paper, research paper, you go to Google Scholar, put in this event, in Google Scholar or Scopus or wherever. You'll see one paper. You don't have to understand all the science, all the models that have gone into it. Okay, but what you have to look at is roughly whatever idea that you can bring in from there. So the idea is that you'll read about this topic a little bit and then present something. Okay, and then this is also PETM is again a boundary in the climate that was before it and after it. So the warming 5 degree to 8 degree, there was some movement in the plates that happened. So oceans across the globe reached tropical temperatures. So something was definitely going on that the Earth saw such change. So it was the thermal maximum, which we call it the PETM. Again, a topic of really a lot of research is going into this topic. Now, last glacial maximum is the 21,000 years ago. So this was the last, means this is the most recent glacial time that we saw. This was 21,000 years ago. So this was when the sea levels were really low and most of the sea was trapped in the ice caps, right? And polar ice was not just until polar ice, the ice sheets were much further southwards on the continents. So not till equator, but much further southwards. So a lot of 25% of Earth's land area, for instance, was covered by glaciers, and sea levels were really low. So a lot of land mass, which was initially submerged by high sea levels, was also exposed. What caused the last glacial maximum? And do you think we can see it in near future, or the opposite? Are we heading towards the PETM, the thermal maximum? So these kind of things each one of you would look into. So 18,000 years ago, this is when the glaciers, so 21,000 was the LGM period, and this is when the glaciers began to retreat and water was sent back to the oceans, and this deglacial period, we call it, is when the sea levels were rising, and we also call it these periods generally in between the glacial and two glaciations is called an interglacial period. So we were heading towards that. Then there's this topic called the Heinrich events and marine isotope stages. These are two separate events. I could have divided it into two, but I thought you will find some material on Heinrich, and you will also find marine isotope stages. Heinrich events are essentially when there was when there were big icebergs, because of the way they were growing in between glacial periods, they broke off, and mostly from the Laurentine ice sheet around Greenland and North America region, and all the water iceberg was put in the North Atlantic. And if you remember, that is the region where we have the Atlantic meridional overturning circulation. So that's where the water sinks. Remember, North Atlantic? But if so much of ice sheet or so much of ice is during these events was putting in, so much of fresh water was put in the North Atlantic, that sinking motion was disrupted and the climate around the world was impacted. So you have to talk about that, Heinrich events, and also marine isotope stages. So you would look at what this is and why is it important. Again, this is no event, but this is how the climate is divided, in the sense oxygen isotope of something is taken. You'll have to read into it of what is taken and why it's called the marine isotope stages. Okay. The Holocene is the last 10,000 years. It's the current warm period. From 11,000 years until present, we are in a very set boundary conditions. So solar radiation hasn't changed much. We're also not Earth's orbital geometry hasn't changed much. So the boundary conditions that defines or that changes the climate has been relatively stable. So we are in this stable climate or period, which is called the Holocene. You'll find a lot of literature on Holocene, and it is the current warm period. So that is one topic you'll have enough. I didn't write much because you'll see plenty. The 4.2 event, those of you who've taken the monsoon course might have heard about this. So this is 4,200 years back, but 200 years of drying. Okay, so for 200 years around this time, so 4,500 saal pehle, there was about 200 years of weakening of monsoon that impacted societies around the world. So when I say societies around the world, the Egyptian pyramids were being built at that point of time, and then suddenly there was overturned, the kingdoms were overturned, Indus civilization, all of those civilizations around those tropical belts where we have monsoon, active monsoon, all those civilizations, Mesopotamia, Egypt, all those civilizations sort of collapsed or changed into very ruler sort of so civilization kind of adapting to the 200 years of drying that happened around this time. Now what you have to look into is all this, and also what led to this 200 years of drying in this very stable, like I said, this is in that 11,000 years, right? So last from 11,000 years till present, we are in this period. So 0, if I mark 0 here and I'm going back in time, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11, it's relatively stable climate, but events like this at 4.2 or 4,000 years ago is an abrupt event, and 200 years of drying. So there's again plenty of literature on this. So you can look into what caused that drying, even if the long-term period is relatively stable, right? This is again relatively recent. So 17th, 19th century, 11th, 14th century, Little Ice Age, medieval climate warming. So again, on the long-term drying, these were some small periods which were sort of anomaly. It's called the Little Ice Age and medieval climate anomaly. So yeah, most recent is this. So these are 10 topics. Okay, I've uploaded them on Moodle. Form your groups today. I'll ask my TA to put the spreadsheet on Moodle, and it would be editable. So Now, when do you want the presentations?
आफ्टर मैनर
After minor? कौन है ये? Why? I thought it was before minor.
मैं तो जॉब कर रहा हूँ मुझे कोई लेने देने नहीं उनको देख
अच्छा, जॉब कर रहे हो? Okay.
तो उनका प्रॉब्लम मेरे का
You all. कभी भी? Does not matter. Forgetting your name. Yeah. Huh? Samyak. Tell me. कुछ भी चलेगा. See if it yeah, I mean I don't care, I don't really mind. I mean I care, of course I need the course to be complete, but I don't mind whenever.
How much time will the presentation take? Like,
15 minutes.
okay, so
Ah.
we have I think 6 groups or 5 groups.
5. There are about 50 students. So agar last minute mein if people drop out or audit, I think they're dropping windows closed, so they're not dropping out for sure. If you're auditing, there's 35% of marks that you need, so you'd have to appear in quiz, or you have to secure those marks. 20 marks is coming from there. So yeah, so you decide.
In class, right? So like
Yeah.
3 presentations per class.
Yeah, I'm thinking, or I'll see, because I'm also so there's also one quiz which is based on your presentation, just your presentation. Okay, so you have to be on top of it. So that would also happen just after this, right? So let's say if we are running behind schedule, or which mostly happens because there are questions and I want you all to engage. So then I might take an extra online class, online presentation or something, if I'm not able to finish it in the class.
Okay, so ideally we'll take 2 classes.
Yeah, 2 to 3 I would count.
It's an oral quiz or a written?
Hmm?
Oral quiz or a written?
Written. Normal quiz. So my quiz typically are multiple choice, and because I don't want essays. लिखने में भी तुम लोगों को परेशानी हो, मुझे पढ़ने में परेशानी है. मतलब I don't want to read any essays. As much as I want you all to write, not in this subject. Write something else. Okay, so what I look for when I check answers is sketches. Again, I also don't draw well, but if you can sketch or बता दो, sketch से ही बता दो. If you can illustrate, I'm happy to give you marks. If you're able to explain properly annotated. Okay, or write keywords. मतलब short, and if I ask what drove the 4.2 kilo your drawing or event, तो पूरी कहानी मतलब कुछ ना कुछ तो फिर सही आंसर निकल ही आएगा. If you write all the factors, I would not give you marks on that. नहीं ऐसा हुआ है किसी ने, मैंने water तो लिखा है, vapor नहीं लिखा तो क्या हुआ. मतलब ये नहीं ऐसे and when I was new I found it so hard to kind of just fight back कि नहीं इसका ये ऐसा नहीं, I will give marks. But now अभी मैं भी थोड़ा मंजी खिला रही हूँ, तो अभी किसी को नहीं मिल रहे नंबर. Okay, so not that. So you have to be just succinct in what you're saying, in the sense that just the keywords. I'm not looking at grammar. I'm not looking at what all kachara is written. I'm just looking at if you've understood what you're trying to say. Okay. So quiz also for this one, for the assignment quiz, there would be 3 questions, not multiple choice. I'll try to make them even. Answers would be different depending on your. So the reason for the PETM thermal maximum would be climate. What was the driver for that event would be very different from 4.2, let's say, right? But the question would be what drove your event, right? So those kind of question. छोटा छोटा लिखना. Quiz है, मेरा भी check करने में easy रहे, तुम लोग को भी. Okay, so that would be one type of quiz. The other would be what I'm teaching. So very soon, maybe next week, एक quiz ले लेंगे 10 marks की. ठीक है? Short multiple choice होते हैं mostly. All right? Okay. And so yeah, and when was your minor? I can't find your schedule.
12 September.
12 September, yeah. So माइनर से पहले तो टाइम है, ये दे कर सकते हैं आई थिंक. या या लेट्स डू इट बिफोर माइनर देन.
Just after minor, ma'am.
जस्ट आफ्टर माइनर.
It would be better for all of us.
सी कोई कुछ करता नहीं है, कुछ भी नहीं होने वाला है, पता है ये ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं. आई हैव डन बोथ, आई हैव डन बिफोर माइनर, आई हैव ऑल्सो डन आफ्टर माइनर. कोई कुछ नो इम्प्रूवमेंट, कुछ नहीं तो खराब जरूर हो जाता है, बिकॉज यू सिट ऑन इट फॉर सो लॉन्ग.
First week of September.
First week of September is good. Let's give it first week of September. करना तुमने एक ही दिन में. No, I know this. एक ही दिन करोगे बैठ के, है ना? एक दिन बैठ के रात को सारे मिलके कर लोगे, वो तो पता है. तो पहले ही करके खत्म करो ना. Get done with it. First week of September. Okay? So that's sealed. और next week एक quiz. Okay, on this topic. All right. Okay. So this is decided. Now let's go back to what we were doing. So you all check Moodle, right? Except NIT students, right? So you just get in touch with everyone and share YouTube, because I usually upload these slides on Moodle. Okay, I'll email later. First week of September and next week. Okay. So we were looking at various archives where such climate information, whatever topics that I was just talking about, how do I know about those topics? So that information must have been recorded in some form or the other in some archive. So when you, for instance, are looking at one of those events or one of those climate events, you would look at papers or articles which also they would talk about. And again, starting from Wikipedia, you'll see where is the evidence coming from. How do we know that this thermal maximum happened, or last glacial maximum was about 21,000 years ago, and what was the extent of glaciers or ice, or so you would look at you'd see that there is evidence from all of these archives that I'm going to talk about in the next couple of classes. So we've talked about how sediments in calmer environments like lake sediments, interior sea sediments, and deep ocean sediments. So all of these record the information. Now there could be various proxies which I'll talk about in a bit, but most important is that these are undisturbed. They have been depositing in Coiter waters for long intervals of time. Ultimately, they are coming from eroding nearby regions. So they are basically recording the chemistry that was there around wherever these water bodies are, and that chemistry ultimately is governed by what was the atmospheric chemistry, because that is what is driving the weathering and erosion, right? So you remember we have looked at how marine sediments and coastal marine sediments can go really far back in time span of record, instrumental, historical, 100 years, 1,000 years, not farther than that. But ocean sediments and continental coastal sediments, again, the one which is relatively closer to the ocean, go really far back in time. This is 10 to the power 9 years, so 1 billion years. So the question then comes, how far back can we reconstruct climate from ocean archives if that is the one which is used for really long-term climate information? So the answer to this is about 170 million years. So that is how far you can get the information, because ultimately we know that the crust and the plates are moving, right? Ocean plates are moving, continental plates are moving, they're all moving. And what is happening is at the convergent, and also new ocean plates are being formed at the mid-oceanic ridge, right? those of you, if you know about anything about plate tectonic movement, so there are divergent boundaries, there are convergent boundaries. Divergent boundaries is where new crust is being formed. So, if you go to Iceland, there are many active volcanoes because that's where the mid-oceanic ridge is passing. So, that ridge, I think I showed you one of the plots, one of the figures in the earlier classes where you saw those fault lines where such activities are happening. But there are also convergent boundaries where if two continents are colliding, they're forming a mountain, or like Himalayas. And if an ocean or continent is colliding, ocean would subduct. So at subduction zone, continuously ocean crust is being destroyed, while new ocean crust is also being formed at the mid-oceanic ridges. So this movement this is coming out. The older you go, the farther you go from the mid-oceanic ridge where the new crust is coming out from the lava, and the older ones are actually colliding with the continental and going down. Okay, so those convergent, so that time of coming out and going is about 170 million years. Okay, and in that 170 million years, you would have, so from the time it has come out from the mid-oceanic ridge or divergent boundaries, and it has gone into and collided with a continent, it has a lot of sediment accumulation, right? It has accumulated a lot of sediments over the years. And so, and when we are trying to reconstruct climate like these, we will drill on the ocean bed in these sediments, not on the crust, because crust is like, solid rock. You're not going on the crust. You're just looking at what has been eroded from land, going from the river to the deep ocean. And, in 170 years, about 170 million years, this ocean crust along with the sediments would be destroyed. So, you can only go as far as 170 million years if you're trying to reconstruct climate from ocean sediments. Okay? Now, lake sediments. So, I'm just talking about archives where these sediments are, and then I'll talk about what do we do in the sediments. Like, what is it that we are looking in the sediment? It's just, for you, for me, if I were a lay person, I would just think it's a soil, or pattar bhi nahi hai. But anything like that, some eroded material. But what is it that we really are looking at? So first of all, many lakes have been drilled, studied. Some of these lakes have pollens. So pollen, if you remember, were remnants of trees, spores which have siliceous made of silica coating. So they really can withstand long periods of very extreme climate. So they can preserve, if they are they've fallen in lake beds or any calm water bodies, or even though there are green sedimentation on top of it, they would have preserved that vegetation existed at that point of time. So if I'm standing here at the top drilling in a lake bed, and this is what it has deposited over the years, and if there are pollen at this point of time, let's say this would be 3,000 or whatever time, 3,000 years, I would know that 3,000 years back this was the vegetation looking at the pollen data. Okay, so a lot of pollen studies have been done worldwide. Of course, Southeast Asia, not much has been done. This is not an updated plot, but because my PhD was from here, it's not here, so it's definitely not updated. I've taken it from that book, I think, and one of the first editions, but now it's there's a lot of work that has been done in India also and Southeast Asia. Essentially, this is the region where we get monsoon, and for monsoon records, we need longer term data. So a lot of data also exists from here. But you can get a sense of that. It might look like a very niche kind of study, but it's very popular in the West. And so what these sediments essentially record is the climate variation in terms of temperature and precipitation. So so it can so happen that you can have such banded sediments over time. Now these are called varves. Okay, varved sediments. So these are annual banding caused by seasonal changes in productivity. So depending on what is coming in the lake bed and getting deposited, we can we can see whether it was a wet period or dry period. So for example, if it's summertime, warm temperatures, nice rainfall, a lot of plants growing, really a lot of organic matter in the lake, die, decompose. Okay, and so this organic, you can see these organic layer, you can, and annually these are being deposited. So we know that there would be a summer monsoon period or summertime where these organic matter would be depositing really high productivity in the lake, as compared to winter time where it's mostly clastic runoff or even dry winds blowing, bringing in not so much of the temperatures are not that great, or not too warm to support such productivity. So there's alternate bands of when I say clastic means broken rock, so broken sediments. So this broken sediments or dry sort of sediments versus this organic rich black carbon highly productive layers can give you seasonal variability as to how thick the layer was. A lot of the parameters of course need to be measured, need to be recorded, but just by visual inspection you can say that there was changes in the season that has been recorded in these lake sediments. The other things that you can also look at in the lake sediments are shells like these. The lakes have gastropod shells and other shelly organisms living in water bodies. The shell chemistry record the chemistry of the water in which they were living. And I've talked about this in briefly, but I'll also talk about in detail in this presentation. So a lot of information can be obtained from lake records also, as they can from ocean sediments like I was showing. So lake also gives you a regional history. So for example, if I want to reconstruct climate for Northwest India, I would not be drilling in North Atlantic, right? Because I want a regional climate history. What was the climate like in this region? What was the runoff like? What was the temperatures like? I would want to then look at regional records like lake records, right? Not looking at ocean somewhere in the middle of Pacific or somewhere in the middle of North Atlantic, right? If I want to, let's say, look at the Atlantic meridional overturning circulation, remember the thermohaline circulation, that is when I would look at ocean records from North Atlantic. Because there, some changes in sedimentation, sediment chemistry would have recorded changes in the overturning circulation. Okay, in the lakes, like I said, these shells are there. Their shell chemistry also tells you a lot about rainfall and temperature changes, mostly in the oxygen isotopes and the trace elements, because usually this is just CaCO3, calcium carbonate, but in the calcium carbonate there could be some magnesium, strontium. How much would be dependent on what was the lake chemistry, lake water chemistry at that point of time. That is dependent on what was the temperatures like, so on and so forth. So these are again proxies of temperature and precipitation, but recorded in various ways. Okay, and then of course, like I said, pollen would tell you what was the vegetation like. Also, carbon isotopes can be used for. So this, for example, if in this organic matter here, this is carbon, right? So if I take it and run it on a mass spec, if it, depending on how much C13 or C12 is there, it would tell me what sort of vegetation was there. So vegetation could be really dried sort of C4 plants, or tropical land plants, C3 plants. So C3 or C4, which was abundant at that point of time. If it's C4, rainfall must have been lesser, because they need more. They are essentially depicting drying sort of climate. So so these kind of things you can, a lot of proxies you can use for such archives and and reconstruct climate. Now, so as you can see that you basically this is on board of a research ship. It's not so fancy actually. It's rather commonplace in people who do climate research. We go on ships and research cruises for 6 months. Of course, the location is decided, proposal is decided. What is it that we're going to look at? If I'm going out in the Arabian Sea, what is it that I want to look at? Upwelling, or what is it? Where would we target? Exactly which coordinates? A big team is put together. There is a consortium called the International Ocean Drilling Program, IODP, and each of the countries put in money, and India is a part of it. And we all then form a team and go really huge ships. There is a drilling rig on it. We drill sediment cores, slice them into half, open it, and as you can see, from top down, or wherever is the top, you're going back in time and then take slices of it, basically looking at time slices and slicing it for the kind of interval of interest. Of course, date them as to what this aligns to. So some of the dating horizons are very clear. Like I said, Toba would be very clear in terms of ash that would have deposited in the Arabian Sea or nearby Southeast Asian seas. So if I see a thick layer of ash, I would definitely know this is around 75,000 years ago. So but we use other ways to date that we do later in the lab. The other way, so also in the lakes you can drill like this. Okay, so this is something that happens in the ocean. In lakes you can go and drill, but in places where there are lakes which have now dried up. So for example, I was talking about the Thar Desert margins, where there were a lot of lakes, some 5,000 years back, but now they've all dried up. So Thar Desert has sort of expanded. Now that lake has dried up. It is covered with wind-blown sand, so proper sand, Thar Desert sand. So if you would while standing, you would think, okay, I'm standing on a desert. But if you drill, or even if you just bring a JCB, ask a JCB to dig, कि 2 meter तक यहाँ पे just dig करो, you would see top 1 meter of aeolian sand, and then you have lake sediments coming in. Not very difficult to identify. Aeolian sand तो बिल्कुल yellow सी रेत, right? Sandy, and 1 meter deep you would see really clayey, chipchippy सी, clayey मिट्टी बिल्कुल, the one you use to make pottery, or one uses to make pottery. So that's sort of clayey, and lots of shells, because these water bodies are house for microorganisms and little organisms that make shells. So really, so you can also go that way. So for example, this is from Haryana. Anybody from Haryana here? So this is from Haryana, close to Rohtak, and Rohtak sir. So बस तो रोहतक के पास से भिवानी और उसके पास से ही है. And this is me when I was young. I don't have anybody else's picture of digging and taking samples, but what we did, so उस ऊपर there is just sandy soil. PhD student मैं ही हूँ, छोटी थी, about 10 years back now. Okay, so or maybe more, slightly. So there is 1 meter of sand, but उसके नीचे जाओ तो this is just clay, चिपकी हुई मिट्टी, and then it goes back as far as 11,000 years ago. उसके नीचे फिर से sand. So this region where I was standing, and it's not just one point. It's not like 1 point we're drilling. We drill at several. This is we got a trench dug using a JCB, a digger. But we also dug at several places. So, and also on satellite and DEM models that we drew, clearly there was a depression which was filled with lake sort of sediments, but right now really sandy sort of soil, and people trying to grow things, not able to, there's no water. So but yeah, clearly there was a very deep Mar lake existing at some point of time. such that and this was sustained by monsoon. You know, the water monsoon was so strong at that point of time that that basin was permanently filled up and became a lake, right? So it was such big lake at some point of time in the past. Monsoon was really strong, and beyond that it was not as strong. And then, you know, around 11,000 years, this is just aeolian, again, wind, sand, the sand that we see today. So, so you know, between two sandy units, I have this whole 3 meters of lake sediments, which we are trying to sample every centimeter to get really high resolution climate history over time. Now, what led to formation of lake? Because ultimately this is just telling you about the evaporation by precipitation ratio, how much of it is evaporating, what was the precipitation like in the region. Definitely high precipitation during deep water lake phase, but what happened here, what happened here, what led to drying again, you know. So these sort of questions you can answer using every, you know, really high resolution sampling, and then bringing them in the lab and doing all sorts of chemistry and then modeling to understand the processes. Okay, so lot of work. Okay, pollens. Quickly again, we talked about how you know, in the I'm not an expert, but you know, these are really microscopic, as you can see, 60 micrometer, 10 to the power minus 6 of a meter, this length, and you know, and different pollen, different. So this is a spruce pollen, spruce tree, oak tree pollen, sunflower, sage. So you know, they look very different. So people who do palynology or study pollens for, you know, understanding climates, they try to reconstruct vegetation from using these pollens, and so they observe them under a microscope. They look at what was the abundance like. So if this is the age, it's not very clear here, but you know, if you look at the Rudiment book, it's there. You can look at which one is more abundant. So for example, if a tree would grow in really, you know, warm climate, you would see that this is the most abundant pollen in that sediment layer that you were looking at, as compared to other trees. So you know, this was the typical vegetation around this time. But then, you know, as you can see, whatever this is, as you can see, it kind of, you know, as you go up, or you know, time changes, their abundance, relative abundance also changes, and someone else, some other plant or tree takes up as the most abundant vegetation, and which is reflecting drier climate. So you know, so the relative abundance of pollen that is there in the lake sediment can also suggest what is the climate of that time. Again, you know, it might look like very qualitative, but there's a lot of cluster analysis and factor analysis and a lot of statistical procedures that we do after this is collected. So, and then downscaling, because you know, if this is really long time scale, we have to bring the data on monthly, or you know, so a lot of analysis that we do. But just to give you an idea of what is it that it means. Okay, last slide and then I'll stop. See, oceans I've just covered. Okay, so like I said, IODP, International Ocean Discovery Program, have collected. So all these dots are actually holes in the ocean bed, bed. So and again, this is not the most up-to-date figure. There are many more dots, and you can see Arabian Sea is very well studied, mostly for monsoon, but also for other reasons. There is an upwelling margin here. Winds, as they go this way, deflected to the right, so the bottom waters come up around these margins, and you know, here also. So a lot of holes here, and for the overturning circulation around this region, that you know, how much of the water has reached here, or you know, what was the bottom water conditions like, to study, you know, the AMOC changes in this region. A lot of the ocean sediments have been used. This is the most famous research ship that goes. I think this year they have kind of retired. It's not. It will not. I think it just completed its last journey. But this is the drilling rig. That's how we bring it on shore. And actually, anyone can travel for a month, or you just have to give in a proposal what you'll do to help, because they need people. So students happily go for a month in the sea if you're not seasick, of course. You can do some work, teaching work, and come back. Okay, these are wind depositions. I will talk about it in the next class because this is slightly different. And then we'll talk about how the chemistry, like what is the chemistry that we use from those ocean sediments that is collected, and then we'll go on to ice archives, speleothems, corals, tree rings, and that's it. Okay?
बनानी है मतलब बना के सोच थोड़ा वो फाइंड ऊपर बनाते हैं। हाँ ऊपर बनाते हैं, क्या बनाते हैं?
मुझे पता है कि पहले
बड़ा